let's take a look at the candidates, the dramatist personnel as far as today's elections are concerned. Let's start with Bayelsa State, since that's where we've been to. And we have three major candidates from Bayelsa State, of course. We'll look at them on our screen now. But incumbent Governor is Diri. You've seen he was born on in June 1959. Of course, you can see his educational qualifications. But Bayelsa State has 16 candidates. The next candidate we have is Eradiri Udengbom Bofa. He's, of course, the candidate of Labour Party, Eradiri Udengbom Bofa. I guess probably Phillips will help us with the correct pronunciation of the name. He was born on March 22, 1976, so a more younger candidate there. He's a businessman, human rights activist, and Ijaw leader. You can see the profile of his political career. Of course, he's been special assistant on youth and sport to the interim administrator of the NDDC in 2021. Quite interesting.
All right, we also have Warmate Jones. He's a candidate of the Accord Party. And talking about his career, he's a legal advisor to the All African Association of Small and Medium Enterprises, and also a faculty member of Africa. He's the Director General of Yenagoa Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and he's actually had 10 years in advocacy, 4 to 6 years in the oil and gas industry. And I think we also have Timipre Silva.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Timipre Silva is the immediate past Minister of State for Petroleum under former President Muhammadu Buhari. He was also former governor of Bayelsa State. He governed the state under the People's Democratic Party, and he'll be counting on his accomplishments when he led the state, and also the clout of his party now is in the APC. So you've seen the candidates. We have Warmate Jones, who we talked about, Doye Diri, the current governor of Bayelsa State. He's gunning for a second term. And of course, we have none other than Danks Eradiri as well, who we saw earlier there, and Warmate Jones of, who we also saw earlier. Quite interesting. Let me go over to you, Emmanuel Ajoto. What are the issues as far as voting in Bayelsa State is concerned? We're going to be careful here not to, do anything that will look like we're trying to push the agenda or maybe mistakenly campaign for any candidate. But what are the issues that are surrounding the Bayelsa State elections important to both the government or governance of Bayelsa State and the voting public?
Bayelsa State is a very difficult place to conduct an election. But speaking directly to your questions, I think the issue of welfare, the issue of youth empowerment are some of the pressing issues that might determine the outcome of these elections. I think it's a two-horse race between the incumbent and the former minister. The incumbent have somehow been able to gather the political heavyweights in his corner. You talked about the former governor, Mr. Saraka Dixon. You talk about the former president. You talk about Mr. Timi Alaibe. They are all with the governor. And these are people that dictate what happens in the political landscape of Bayelsa. Interestingly, the former minister, Timipre Silva, is also no pushover. I mean, he is highly connected at the grassroots. Yeah, if you ask him, he will tell you, or for those of us that know, he has been able to empower so very many youths, I mean, in Bayelsa, giving them pipeline, surveillance contracts, etc. These are some of the issues that, are very dearest in the hearts of most of these young people in Bayelsa. For the candidates of the Labour Party, yes, they had a good outing in the presidential election in Bayelsa, but like I said, I really think that it's going to be a two-horse race, and people are going to focus on welfare and youth empowerment. Those are the major issues that are going to decide, some of the major issues that are going to decide the outcome of these elections. Plus the power play. I mean, you might say, oh, the president has been out of politics, the former president has been out of politics for a while, but yes, he still has one or two things to I believe he still have one or two things to offer as regard politics in Bayelsa is concerned. We saw that play out in the last election where he supported most people. Well, I don't know if it's common knowledge, but I believe that he supported David Leon against the former candidate of the current governor, who was a candidate of the People's Democratic Party there. And we saw how it played out. I mean, David Leon won that election. Yes, so it's going to be an interesting one. We are going to be looking at two local governments in particular. Talk about the metropolis, Yanagua and Southern Niger. I think those two local governments have the highest number of votes in that state. No candidate should dream of winning an election in that state without primarily capturing Southern Niger. Yes, it's second when you talk of the voting registration, but you know, when it comes to voter turnout, I mean, Southern Niger has always lived up to expectation.
All right, Emmanuel, sorry to cut you short here. You did say quite a bit about, you know, the youth. And being a young politician yourself, would like to know what you think, what are your expectations from the youth? And what factors do you think are unique to the young people's experiences that might make them less likely to participate in the elections?
Yes, 2023 election brought a lot of disappointment, especially to the young people. After the elections, I was opportunity to speak to a couple of them. They expressed their disappointment, and some of them even went as far as saying they will never vote again. But I mean, we can't give up the fight now. I can tell you authoritatively that some of the reasons, you know, politicians had difficult times trying to manipulate the electoral process in 2023 was because, you know, a lot of persons really came out to vote, contrary to the data we have out there. Because the data we have out there will tell you 2003 elections, 2007 elections, you know, the turnout was better than that of 2023. But I think I beg to differ. I beg to differ because the technology that has been introduced to the process has been able to checkmate some of these malpractices that make us come up with very high numbers at elections. So I just want to say to the youth that we can't give up now. If you say you are not voting, it won't stop the process from going on. In fact, it will only make rigging and manipulating the electoral process way much easier. The fight for a better Nigeria is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's something that we need to continue to fight. It's something that we need to continue to be actively involved in the process, and we can't give up now. I just want to use this opportunity to commend the Nigerian youth for for living up to expectation in 2023 elections. Yes, we are not in El Dorado right now, but I think the 2023 election was really a very good start for the youth, and I think I just hope that they can build on some of the achievements they got from the 2023 election and use it as a springboard to carve a niche for themselves in the political landscape of the entire country. They were little wins for the Nigerian youths. I mean, for the first time in the Nigerian history, we had a three-horse race. We had a National Assembly that has you know, members of the APC, members of the PDP, members of the Labour Party. Prior to 2023, you just find one or two members from other political parties aside from the two major political parties. So
all right.
I think I just want to encourage the youth to go out there and cast their votes.
Over to you, Chikuma. What do you say the key issues are as far as the Bayelsa elections are concerned? I mean, some have talked about security, the economy. You know, some have he's talked about youth empowerment. What to you are the key issues for this election in Bayelsa State?
Well, I think Bayelsa State has not scored high in terms of HDI, Human Development Index, which all incorporates factors such as quality education, such as health, like access to good health services, such as employment opportunities and easy access to funds, ease of doing business. They have not done so great in all of those things, at least ability to create an enabling environment for businesses, and also like government having like a way, to help young people to access funds And these are basically like the way to, there's always a nexus between the Human Development Index and, of course, the standard of living, and beyond, all of the usual like political projections of, celebrating the building of roads or like some projects. Nigerian politicians must, of course, appreciate the fact that when you just do those things without necessarily enhancing the indices that makes for good living, then certainly everything will look good on record, but in reality, you can find that disparity.
All right, very interesting. We can see live images as we speak on our screen from the Bayelsa polling units. This is a sample community in Bayelsa State. Of course, you can see this was just sent to us from our correspondent live on the ground. Over to you, Phillips. What to you are the key issues as far as this election is concerned?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think my co participants on the program have highlighted several issues, and I think I tend to agree with them in most respects. And then in some other areas, I tend to also differ. But I agree that statistics have been read out in terms of Human Development Index and perhaps multidimensional poverty ratings and all that. But I think that in as much as construction of roads, probably, okay, some scholars have said, yes, what this road infrastructure and all that may perhaps not matter. But I think for the Bayelsa people, I want to tell you that it matters a lot because, of course, if these road infrastructures, because, of course, from 1956, when oil, for example, was discovered in commercial quantities, perhaps in a town called Otabagi, but even though to the world is known as Loibri. But, up to now, the oil from this region, are right, used for, the development of all other sectors and all other states and all that. Okay. But you see, the federal government have not had sufficient.
Phillips, would have to stop you here. We need to connect with our correspondent who is in Imo State. Nee, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Dashin and Kofi.
All right, so can you go ahead and give us an update and give us a sense of what is happening around you? And we would actually love to know if there is any form of agitation in Imo State at the moment.
From our observation, whatsoever. However, we are not in town because we are actually on our way to the Labour Party's candidates polling unit in Umunomo, Umbana. We've observed is that some people are actually still trying to make their way, maybe within the city or out of the city. We can see some vehicles at some strategic areas loading and just trying to move out. And we've not seen any security agents.
All right. Obviously, of course, Nee is almost in the middle of nowhere in a rural area on his way to the polling unit of one of the candidates out there. And so it's expected that you have one or two of these internet interruptions. Maybe that's something for one of the candidates to promise voters to do. That will give you better broadband. Just like in Bayelsa, they need roads within the oceanic and the riverine communities. Nee Moni, our correspondent in Imo State, good to have you back. Yes, so as you were saying, please continue.
Okay, so I was explaining that from our observation from the center, from the state capital to Umunomo, Eite, Mbano, currently, we didn't see any security agents. What we were able to observe is that some people are trying to make their way, maybe to various communities or even move out. We know it's so difficult to move out of the state, but you can see some people with their traveling bags and some vehicles are actually still loading within the state. In terms of calmness, we've not seen any sort of, or even heard any sort of violence whatsoever, and we can see some electorate trying to ask around, move around, and know what is happening around them before they actually set out to maybe go and exercise their franchise. We visited some polling units along the line, but we've not seen any INEC official or material. None of them have actually gotten to those polling units. Now we're in a remote area heading towards the polling units of the Labour Party candidate, and we've still not seen any 30 when we visited some of those places. We've still not seen anywhere where materials had gotten to.
All right, Ni, you said there is the absence of, police men or security around the area where you are. Do you get a sense that people, the voting public, those out there, are afraid to come out and vote? Remembering that Imo State is one of those states that has borne the brunt of violence in the southeast.
Remember, I said it on air yesterday that one major thing that would influence this election is communication. And we know that Imo State has been out of power supply for over a week. So currently, people that can't charge up their phones to power supply can't even charge up their electronic devices in neighboring communities or even to communicate with people around them. Now, this challenge is there, so they have to come out of their homes and just probably look around and see what is happening around them before they know, oh, is it safe? And in some communities, don't see any sort of security presence. Now, this will raise more concern. Hopefully, around 8, 9, when the roads get a little bit more busy, and when some electorate have decided that, okay, you know what, maybe we need to vote, we need to exercise our franchise, we might now see a few number of them come out. But from what we can observe right now, some of them are just staying in front of their homes, trying to observe what the situation is before they actually make it.
All right. Ni, thank you very much. We'll allow you be on your way. Please stay safe. And thank you so much for sending in that report. Of course, Dashing, we've seen Ni talk about the impact of the strike called by organized labor in Imo State.
Yes, indeed.
No power supply in the state at all.
Yeah,
and residents can't charge their phones.
Yeah, the incumbent governor as well, due to the incident that happened with the labor union president. You know, the incumbent governor had been blacklisted, and we also saw how, airports were actually shut down. You know, so a lot of people who were supposed to go to Imo State to cast their ballots were unable to do so. So a lot is actually happening at this time in Imo State.
Quite interesting.